All right, let's get to it. Right, as I said, Trump's been doing some. He been doing some wild stuff. He been doing some wild stuff. All right, he got straight to it. He wasn't joking around. He wasn't kidding. And there's been thousands of deportations. And, the interesting part is that ICE, the director of ICE, I forget his name. Is it Tom Holland? Is that his name? Tom Holland? I don't know why that sounds like that guy from Twilight. Is that his name? No, that's the dude who dating Zendaya. What's the director of ICE name? You know what I'm talking about. I think his first name Tom. Anyway, Tom was on the news, right? And Tom was saying, he was like, you know what? It would make our job a whole lot easier if they would allow us to go to the jails in order to collect the illegal immigrants as they're being released from jail. Because apparently, there's illegal immigrants in certain cities and states, mainly sanctuary cities and states. And, they get put in jail for a crime and then they get released back into the community. And he said it would be a lot easier because it would make everyone's, jobs a lot safer. It would make the ICE agent's job a lot safer and easier. It would make the community a lot safer. And he also said, which was interesting, he said it would make the illegal immigrant population in that community a lot safer because then we wouldn't necessarily have to target the non-violent illegal immigrants because essentially they could just pull up to the jail and just pick them up and ship them out. And they've literally been shipping them out using military planes. I just watched a video today. There was I think it was 800 or 300 something, all from Guatemala. They were in chain. It looked crazy. They were in chains. Their ankles were chained. Their wrists were chained. It looked crazy. And they were walking up this huge, airline carrier from the military, and they were all being shipped back to Guatemala. But he said since they don't allow us to go into the jails and do it, then they have to take more time to research these individuals. And right now, they're primarily focused on illegal immigrants who have committed violent crimes. A lot of it is sexual assault related, killing and things of that nature, right? But the thing that's really interesting is that they'll pick somebody up. So they'll find somebody. So let's say they find the main target. And if that main target is with other, illegal immigrants, regardless of if they've committed a crime or not, and, aside from the fact that they entered illegally, right? I'm talking about like a violent crime. If they're by them, they're going to pick everybody up too, which is super interesting. So it seems like everyone is going to get shipped out of here and packed up and sent away. And it's kind of crazy. And as a Christian, I have some thoughts about it. Naturally, I have a heart for people. Obviously, I'm a Christian. I care about people. I want people to turn to God. I want people to be saved. And I understand there's a lot of people who, when they come into the United States, it's because they're looking for a greater level of hope, of security, of freedom. And most of the time they're fleeing from something that they deem to be, life threatening in some way, shape, or form. So I have a heart for these individuals. And there's numerous scriptures that, tells us to, have heart for people in these situations. But at the same time, there is also scripture that tells us to respect the governing laws, of whatever country that you're in. So just because, you're coming to the country, and I'm talking about the people who are coming to the country who are not committing crimes. I'm talking about the people who are not violent, but people who genuinely are just like, yo, there's some crazy stuff going on in my country, and I'm genuinely seeking sanctuary from what's going on. I'm talking about those people. The other people, the criminals who are doing crazy, heinous stuff, ship them out, send them back, pack up, send them back. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? But the other people, it's like, at the same time, just because you're coming over here with good intention or for a good reason in terms of genuinely seeking sanctuary, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right, and that doesn't mean that it's lawful, and it does go against the command that we have to, follow the law, essentially, that is set forth by our government, because the government is under God, right? But anyway, let's get to a few videos. Because I know a lot of people are nervous right now. A lot of people are nervous right now. A lot of people are nervous. I want to watch this video. This was a Christian woman. I think she's more progressive Christian. This is just based on what she posted in her hashtags. But she brought up a compelling conversation, and I haven't even watched this whole video yet. But she has questions for conservative Christians, which I guess I would put myself in that category. You'd probably put yourself in that category. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know who's watching this. I don't know. But she has some questions. So let's watch this video and let's react to it.
Do you think that Jesus Christ would want ICE to raid churches and hospitals and schools? Do you think that he would support children being separated from their families? Do you think that he would turn asylum seekers away at the border? Because if you think that any of this is somehow godly, I urge you to listen to the countless verses that tell us to accept the foreigner, to not mistreat the oppressed, and to love thy neighbor, because that is our greatest commandment. And might I remind you that the only thing separating you and a refugee is quite literally where you were born, which you had no control over, mind you. And it's very easy to cast judgment from the comfort of your own home when you have no idea what these people have been through. It's very easy to be bigoted towards people when you have never walked in their shoes. So maybe let's take a look inward and ask ourselves, is this what Jesus would want? Am I acting how Jesus would? Am I being of service to my fellow human beings? Or am I supporting people and policies who enact harm and violence against God's children? And I don't know what version of Jesus you all are subscribing to, but the one that I believe in would never stand for that.
And, I see the heart and I get what she's saying. And, I agree to an extent. I do. I agree to an extent. I don't think we should hate these individuals. You know what I see? There's a lot of hatred going on. There's a lot of negative emotion being targeted at these individuals, at immigrants, illegal immigrants. And as I said, as I stated previously, the fact of the matter is there is a lot of people from other countries who are coming in illegally, who are gang members, who are committing very violent crimes, who are committing very violent, egregious sexual crimes, who are operating and running criminal organizations here in the United States. There's a lot of individuals just factually who fit that description who are here, right? I think for those individuals, as I said, I don't have any there's no question. Like, y'all gotta go. Y'all gotta get out. Y'all gotta go. But even for the people who come in illegally who aren't in that category, I definitely have a heart for them. And this is what I was saying in my previous video. One of my previous videos is, maybe one thing that we should take a look at is our actual process of becoming a citizen, because it's a very long process. It's a very drawn out process. Some people have spent years in the application stage trying to become a citizen. And, this country has, largely been built on the idea that, you can come here and you can be free and you can build and you can, have the American dream. But we do have a system that for a lot of people from an immigration standpoint, it takes a very long time. So is there a way to kind of expedite the situation and figure out who of those, people who are trying to come across are genuine individuals who don't have a criminal history, who don't have a criminal affiliation, who aren't going to come in and do crazy stuff? And there's no way that you can completely eliminate it, because people are going to be people. You're always going to have humans that are going to do some stuff, regardless of how you assess it, regardless of how you evaluate it or what screening process you put them through. There's going to be a handful of people that are always going to act crazy. But as a Christian, I'll be honest with you, I am conflicted, but I do understand it at the same time. I do. Just real quick, and then we'll get to another video. Romans 13, submission to the authorities. Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore, whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval. For he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore, one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath, but also for the sake of conscience. For because of this, you also pay taxes, for the authorities are ministers of God. Attending to this thing, pay to all what is owed to them, taxes to whom taxes are owed, revenue to whom revenue is owed, respect to whom respect is owed. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Honor to who honor is owed. And this would apply regardless of who's in office, regardless of who's in office. If Kamala would have won, the same thing would have applied, right? The previous administration, Biden. And, I'll be completely honest. There's a lot of times where I sat and I looked at a lot of stuff that Biden was doing and I didn't have respect for what he was doing. But there is a caveat to that. There is a caveat. If the government is telling you to do something that is against God, that is going to put your faith in question, or asking you to denounce your faith or anything of that nature, then of course we're not supposed to submit to that. We're supposed to submit to God only. Right. I was going to say something, but I forgot what I was going to say. Chicago mayor doubles down on fighting ICE raids. Let's watch this video real quick. Let me speed this up and maybe I'll remember what I was supposed to say because I totally forgot.
Garrett Tenney is live for us in Chicago. Garrett.
Yeah, Harris, those proposed changes would have allowed Chicago police to work with ICE only in cases involving a violent criminal, which is the kind of people state and local officials claim they don't want to be here. Instead, progressives on the city council have spent the past week preparing to fight this expected ICE operation by canvassing Latino neighborhoods to pass out these flyers, telling folks to not open their doors and to remain silent if ICE agents show up looking for any convicted criminals.
Talking to people, the fear is palpable. The fear is vocalized by our residents. People in the streets are saying that they're scared that ICE agents will show up at their doorsteps, at their workplaces, at their places of worship or places of going to school. They're scared of that. That is a problem.
Governor J.B. Pritzker could push for changes in the state sanctuary policies to allow Illinois police.
Which is true. They're pulling up to schools. I saw a story that, ICE pulled up to a school. They were denied entry to a school. I saw some of y'all talking about that in the chat earlier. And then there's also the green light to go to churches as well, to get those individuals. Now, I'm the thing that I'm curious about, because that sounds crazy, right? It sounds crazy. They can go into churches, they can go into schools. It sounds crazy. The thing that I'm curious about is the context and what that exactly looks like when it's carried out in the field. Like, I don't think they're just running up in school. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't think they're just running up in schools for no reason, just shutting down schools, just causing havoc, making everybody line up on a wall and, checking papers and stuff like that. It's the same thing with churches. I don't think that's what's going on. But that's like almost like what some of the mainstream media outlets are trying to make us believe is going on. I think it's more targeted. I think it's more strategic. And if you look at how strategic they've been up until this point, they've identified a lot of people and they've found a lot of violent individuals in a very short amount of time. It hasn't even been a week since the inauguration, right? But there's already been, X amount, like hundreds and hundreds, maybe even 1,000 arrests of, immigrants. So I think it's a lot more targeted than what we think. But once again, I would like more clarity as to what exactly that looks like. And I think we'll get it in hopefully, maybe, I don't know. It's gonna depend on if the media is gonna have access. I saw an interview from the ICE director, and he was talking to Chris Cuomo, and he said that he would give him access, that he could have whatever access that he wanted to observe what exactly this looks like. So that might be an interesting, thing to react to once that happens, right? Anyway, let's get back to it.
To cooperate in some limited way, but he hasn't given any indication that that is something he is even considering, despite repeatedly saying criminal illegal migrants should be arrested and removed.
If there are violent criminals who have been convicted of violent crimes, who are undocumented, they are supposed to be deported. That is the law of the United States.
So this is a Democratic governor, right? This is governor, right? Yep. Democrat.
And has been for quite a long time. I don't want them in my state. I don't want them in the country. If you're going to commit crimes and you're undocumented, you don't deserve to stay in this country.
The sad irony here is that by not helping to remove those folks, Democrats here say that the folks they are trying to protect, those law-abiding individuals who are here illegally, by not cooperating with ICE, more of those very individuals are inevitably going to get picked up by ICE while agents are trying to track down those who are the most dangerous. One example, Harris, during an ICE operation in Chicago back in 2018, agents arrested 156 migrants. Of those, only 74 had criminal convictions. The other half were folks who just got caught up and were collateral arrest. Tom Home and others are warning we are almost certainly going to see a lot more of that because of these sanctuary policies.
That's his name, Tom Home. So Tom Home, the director of ICE. Here's the thing. I don't understand why they're so unwilling to work with ICE to identify these violent immigrants who, number one, are in the country illegally. Number two, are committing crimes, violent crimes. I don't understand why local government is not working with ICE to help them locate these individuals. Because if they were to help locate those individuals, it would actually reduce the amount of people who are being deported, because then they would just grab those people. But instead, since they're not getting the help that they are seeking, there's a lot of collateral. And now you have a lot of non-violent illegal immigrants who are also being picked up because they're associated in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a family member, a friend, whatever it is, or they just happen to live in the same community and ICE is there at the same time and they pick up the other people who are around. It's like the very thing that they're pushing back against, they're increasing by resisting it. Now, I think it's going to be very interesting, and this is just me thinking out loud. I don't really know the exact number, but I wonder what that number looks like in terms of how many immigrants are top priority. Like how many illegal immigrants are top priority when it comes to ICE, when it comes to their investigation, because they have priority levels for people who they are looking for specifically. There's different priorities, right? But I wonder, once they kind of run through that priority list, then what are they going to do? Are they just going to start picking up everybody and deporting them? That's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing unfolds. This is just me thinking out loud. Anyway, let's get back to it.
Harris?
And just so I'm clear, I mean, if they came here illegally, they already committed a crime. They broke our laws of sovereignty. So there's 156. Yes, 74 had committed crimes either in their former countries or in this one. But the balance of that was, from what you're saying, and that's what I want to get straight, they were here illegally anyway.
Here illegally, not violent criminals, though. And that's what the administration is focusing on in this initial set of operations.
All right. That's helpful. Garrett, thank you. Gianno Caldwell, Fox News political analyst. Gianno, look, I made a fine point of this because it matters. The last administration was trying to legalize coming across our border in many illegal ways, whether you crawled in, you went around the security checkpoints.
Okay. There's another video I wanted to show. Hold on. I think I saved it. Yeah, I think it's this one right here.
They're wasting no time. And ICE is making nearly 500 arrests in the span of just 33 hours. The New York Post cover, the Ice Man cometh. President Trump also signing more executive orders, including one designed to block illegal crossings. And he told Sean Hannity that Joe Biden's failed policies forced him to take swift action.
Why would somebody say that open borders are good, where jails and mental institutions from other countries and gang members right off the streets of the toughest cities in the world are being brought to the United States of America and emptied out into our country? Why would anybody that even likes, you don't have to love our country, you have to like it. Why would anybody that likes our country, the Democrats, allow that to happen? And even now, I watch them on television, they're trying to justify it. You can't justify it.
So those ICE raids taking place in many parts of the country, including the sanctuary city of Boston. That's where Bill Maloogian went on an exclusive right along with ICE, and Bill joins us now to tell us what he found and what he saw. Bill, good morning.
Bill, good morning to you as well. In the early days of this new Trump administration, ICE officials tell me they're taking what they call a worst first approach, meaning they're going to target the worst of the worst criminal alien offenders first. Well, we were given exclusive access to join the...
Yeah, so it sounds like they're coming for everybody. It sounds like they're picking up everybody. So they doing the worst first. And then they going to pick everybody else up. I mean, look, they entered into the country illegally. We just had this conversation, right? About respecting the laws of the government. We just had this conversation. They entered into the country illegally. I can't see, and I get it. I understand. And some of y'all gonna get upset with me. I get it. I know it's a strain on our economy. I know it's a strain on, but some people might argue it's good for our economy in some places or in some way, shape, or form, because most of the time the jobs that are, essential jobs in terms of a lot of these farm jobs and a lot of these factory jobs and a lot of jobs that a lot of people don't want to do are primarily jobs that immigrants are gladly taking, right? So I could see it from that standpoint that it is a benefit for the economy, but at the same time, there is a lot of money being spent. I think I saw something in in New York. It was like $96 million of prepaid credit cards that were given to illegal immigrants in New York. And I don't know if that was just the number for 2024 as a whole, or if that was the number for just the fourth quarter of 2024. But either way you slice it, $94 million given to illegal immigrants on prepaid credit cards, that's a lot of freaking money. That's a lot of bread. And I understand we live in a society that essentially prints money and is, the previous administration was largely unconcerned with the deficit, the trillion dollar deficit that we're in. But obviously that's not sustainable, and that's going to have strains on our economy. I get it. But at the same time, like I'm trying to say, I do have a heart for people. I do. I'm talking about the people who are just, because look, I used to work I used to work at a bank, right? And one of my coworkers she was from Mexico. But she crossed over illegally with her family. And she crossed over because there was a lot of gang violence in Mexico. And, some of her family members were getting killed. And, one day her and her family just said, you know what, let's just try to get out of here. And they were able to cross and they made it to America. And, she went to school, she got educated, she, got a job, she, had a family, all this type of stuff. And, this is not an individual who was out here committing crimes or, anything like that. But she was, in fact, contributing to society. And she was also a wonderful person, in my opinion. She was a wonderful person, right? I just, when I look at people like that and when I see cases like that, and there's a lot of cases like that, I can't help but feel a certain amount of sadness. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of y'all gonna get upset because, you know, some of y'all just have your allegiance completely to the Republican Party and completely to Trump and all that. Like, some of y'all have that allegiance, but I'm just saying, person to person, I feel for those individuals. That's just how my heart operates. I feel for those individuals. So, you know, as he said, they're going to do the most violent people first, and then they're going to move down the list. You know, the fact of the matter is a lot of families are going to be broken up. There's going to be a lot of hardship. There's going to be a lot of heartache. There's going to be a lot of people questioning why. There's going to be a lot of stuff. And, you know, my hope and my prayer is that in that heartache that those people are going to be experiencing, I just pray in that they can find God, that they can find Jesus, and then that they can be reminded that at the end of the day, you know, this is all temporary, but the relationship that you can have with Jesus Christ, the offer of eternal life through his blood, through the sacrifice that he made on the cross, that's eternal. You know what I mean? But anyway, I know some of y'all are going to be like, nah, just get them out of here. I don't care what they do. I don't care. I don't care. Get them out of here. You know, some people have that attitude. I don't have that attitude. I don't. Like, I get it. I understand that there's a strain on the economy. I get it. I understand it. But I don't have that attitude. I don't. And I understand they're illegal and stuff like this. I just don't have that attitude. You know what I mean? Like, I do have a heart for people. And I think most Christians do have a heart for people. But I get it. From a political standpoint, I understand. I get it. Let's continue.
Elite ICE team right here in Boston as they go into sanctuary jurisdictions and enforce immigration law.
Good morning, everyone.
It's a frigid 5 degrees in the pre-dawn hours just outside of Boston, where this team of elite ICE officers is briefing on their targets for the day.
We're going to be targeting some extremely violent offenders today.
Within moments, the officers are on the move, with eyes on their first target.
Looks like we got movement, target vehicle coming out.
They quickly take him into custody. He's an MS-13 gang member wanted in El Salvador for aggravated murder.
Like, yo, MS-13, yo, MS anything, bruh. You get him out. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't disagree on that. Like, yo, pack him up, get him out. Aggravated murder? No. I get it. We're on the same page. All right?
And he has an Interpol red notice out for his arrest.
We are targeting very violent threats to our community.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
One of those threats is this illegal alien from Haiti. ICE says he's a gang member with 17 criminal convictions in recent years.
Trump, you feel me? Yo, Biden forever, bro. Thank Obama for everything that he did for me, bro.
17 convictions is crazy. You know what's crazy? I don't understand. It's almost like y'all, I feel like they got more legal leniency than Americans do. Like this is 17? I thought there was like a 3-strike rule, and you know what I'm saying? Like in California, isn't it still a thing in California? There's you get 3 felonies, they pack you up for life. You know what I'm saying? It's like y'all be getting a lot of chances.
ICE Boston quickly takes down its next targets, including this illegal alien from Brazil who has an Interpol red notice for armed robbery. This Salvadoran illegal alien charged locally with rape and released by a sanctuary jurisdiction.
Pack him up.
Yo, ¿cómo se llama? And this Dominican illegal alien charged with assault with a deadly weapon and heroin trafficking. Officers also arrested this Guatemalan MS-13 gang member facing gun charges. ICE says he was released from local custody just the day before. Their detainer request was ignored because of sanctuary policies. And in a sign of shifting priorities with the new Trump administration, this man, who was in the same apartment as the target, was also arrested after ICE determined he's also in the U.S. illegally. This is what ICE calls collateral.
So you guys got your main target just now, but you got somebody else. What just happened?
So our main target was released by sanctuary jurisdictions, not honoring a detainer. That person was released back into the community, and when we went to go find him, he's with somebody else who was previously removed from the United States. So he's going to go today too.
And that is exactly what Border Czar Tom Homan has warned would happen.
When we find the bad guy, he's probably with others that are in the United States illegally. They may not be a criminal priority, but we're not walking away from them.
ICE Boston says they will continue to go into sanctuary jurisdictions and do their job.
Today was a good day. Today we took several significant public safety threats out of our communities. Unfortunately, a lot were released by sanctuary policies, but we're here to tell the Commonwealth and the rest of the country that we're going to find them whether they're released or not.
Bro, they put them in dog kennels. Yo, they moving. I'm not trying to laugh, but like they're moving crazy, dog. They throwing them in dog kennels, like. That's crazy. I mean, that's wild. That's kind of wild.
Whether they're released or not.
And guys, shortly after we finished filming, ICE Boston told us they arrested 2 more targets in other parts of town away from our cameras. One of those targets is a previously...
Okay, I can't play that part because one of the targets is like... The crime he's accused of is a little crazy.
If it's countries that are harder to deport, countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much, it can go into a process of months. But the Trump administration is changing policies with something called expedited removal. The bottom line is people at home don't need to understand all the policies. The Trump administration is just going to work as fast as they can to get all the people you just saw on camera there out of the country as fast as possible. They're also going to use their State Department, now led by Marco Rubio, to put pressure on countries that don't cooperate with the U.S. as much when it comes to the...
Okay, let's go to... let me see. ICE... schools and churches.
Ravi, this directive preventing ICE from making arrests in a variety of locations, including schools and churches, goes back to 2011. And now, just one full day into President Trump's second term, teachers and religious leaders are preparing to protect their students and parishioners.
And we're getting them out of the country. We just started that. We're getting them out of the country, and they're going to be gotten out of the country fast.
President Trump addressing one of his top campaign promises on his first full day in office. The Trump administration authorizing ICE agents to target schools and churches. We talked to a CPS teacher and CTU delegate for her school who says teachers have been preparing for changes to immigration policy.
I think that it's rather disgusting and shameful that he's decided to target children or, people that seek refuge in churches.
Aaron says the so-called sanctuary.
What does that look like? What does that actually look like? You come over illegally and you're seeking refuge at the church or in school. I didn't know that I didn't know it was a thing. Like, obviously I understand that there's illegal immigrants who are going to church. There's illegal immigrants who are going, to school, but I didn't know it was classified as seeking refuge. Maybe I'm just stupid.
Team at her school includes nearly a dozen teachers. The Chicago Teachers Union says these teams are an effort to make sure educators know what to do in case of a raid.
We started attending Know Your Rights training so that we could know how to defend ourselves and our students if if ICE tries to communicate with us or potentially detain somebody.
In a statement to ABC7, CPS says it does not plan to share private student-level information with ICE, except in the rare case where there's a court order or consent from a parent or guardian. In Pilsen, Pastor Emma Lozano of Lincoln United Methodist Church says they've gone virtual with their service to protect parishioners.
Some people are going to have to hide and stay out of sight. Maybe some kids won't go to school. We don't know.
As for the possibility of ICE agents showing up to schools, CPS says ICE won't be allowed access unless they produce a criminal judicial warrant signed by a federal judge.
Watch breaking.
Meanwhile, the White House is apparently kicking off its mass deportation plan, and Alabama Republican Senator Katie Britt posting to X to congratulate President Trump on promises made, promises kept.
Promises made, promises kept. The Trump administration's first full day of ICE enforcement was larger than any day in 4 years. Wow. Larger than any day in 4 years of the Biden administration. Today, ICE made 308 arrests of illegal aliens in our nation's interior, even with the frigid temperatures. Wow. So in one day, they arrested more individuals than in 4 years of the Biden administration. That is some wild data.
Claiming that immigration and
so what were they doing in the? So were they not doing anything? Were they not doing any? Were they not following any like laws when it came to immigration? The previous administration, that statistic does not even make any sense.
Customs enforcement agents arrested 308 illegal immigrants on Tuesday alone. However, there's been no confirmation by ICE, the Department of Homeland Security, or the White House on this. News Nation's Robert Sherman is on Capitol Hill with the latest this morning. Robert, it appears the president's wasting no time ushering a new era for policing the border.
Yeah, Marky, it's very clear that the day one messaging coming from this new administration is that things are going to be done very differently along the U.S.-Mexico border. One of those changes that we knew was coming, the reinstatement of the Remain in Mexico policy. That means those who are seeking asylum here in the United States must wait on the Mexican side of the border as their asylum cases process. We also know that the way that parole cases are going to be looked at, that will be different as well. Instead of sweeping provisions that allow entrance into the country, it goes back.
Yo, it's like I'll keep it real. Like stuff like this. If that doesn't make you a little like, yo, like sad or something, if you don't feel anything from seeing images like this, just from a human to human standpoint, just keep it real. Just from a human to human standpoint, they got their kids wrapped up in some like aluminum foil type like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I said, like, yo, I get it from a political standpoint. I understand it. I understand they're breaking laws. I understand they're entering the country unlawfully. And I understand that, you know, according to the law that we have within our country, that's against the law, right? And there's consequences for breaking the law. Even if you have good intentions, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's right. I get all of that. I understand it. But like there's definitely some conflict in my heart. I'm just going to keep it real. With people like this, once again, the violent individuals, pack them up. But these people, like, there's just got to be a better process to screen. There's got to be a better process to screen people, to understand why they're coming into the country, to understand their background, to understand, you know, just a little more about them. There's got to be a better system so that we can process these requests in a quicker, more efficient, safer way for all the parties involved. Y'all gonna say, oh, you sound like this or that and this or that. Bro, I'm not claiming any like political affiliation. Obviously, I have more conservative thoughts, but I follow Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? I follow Jesus Christ. So when I look at stuff like this, it's like, yo, I would hope that we could try to figure something out. And I would hope that Trump could try to figure something out to make this immigration process a little bit more simple in terms of our ability to screen people effectively so that we know exactly who's coming in and for what. So that we can allow the people to come in legally so that they can, you know, have that American dream that has been advertised since, you know, day one. You know what I mean? I don't know, man.
To an individual level. This was a statement put out by the Department of Homeland Security. It says, quote, the Biden-Harris administration abused the humanitarian parole program to indiscriminately allow 1.5 million migrants to enter our country. This was all stopped on day one of the Trump administration. This action will return the humanitarian parole program to its original purpose of looking at migrants on a case.
And there's a difference between like having a heart for people and just being completely negligent. I think what Biden and Harris were doing was complete negligence. Like they say they were doing it because they cared for people, right? Just in the very same way that I'm describing it. They said that they were doing it because, you know, they have a heart for people, they care for people, you know, they don't want to decline somebody the chance to have the American dream and to build here in America. So they essentially just had no border policy whatsoever. They just allowed any and everybody to come in. And that's just negligent because that process produces outcomes like we see today in terms of the amount of violent individuals that have entered the country and are committing crimes at a rate that is uncomfortable. You know what I mean? I'm just saying there's got to be something in between that makes more sense. There's got to be something that makes more sense.
By case basis. And then something else that's going to be different as well, the way that ICE agents operate. Gone will be any of these restrictions on operating in what they call sensitive areas that would include churches as well as schools. Instead, the Department of Homeland Security says that they still want their agents to use discretion, but they also want them to use what they describe as common sense. Markey.
And Robert, what's been the response from immigration advocates and others who oppose the president's new border policies? What are they saying about all this?
Yeah, no surprises on a lot of this, Marquis, is that we've heard some of the contention from a lot of these groups.
You said the American dream does not obtainable. Are you saying the American dream is not obtainable anymore? How so? And for who? How so and for who? Who is it not obtainable for anymore? They wouldn't be here if the Democrats didn't bust or fly them over here in the first place. But that's what I'm saying. They were operating in complete negligence and they were operating with ulterior motives. Like, I'm sure they were probably trying to finesse a way to try to get them on the ballot. Like, I'm not putting anything, like everything's on the table. You know what I'm saying? It's all on the table. I don't really know about that. That's a little crazy. Terrorist is a little crazy. I don't know what that means. I know I got a beard, but yo, brother, crack-a-lacking. You know what I'm saying? Chill out. But that's a little crazy. What'd you say, Amanda? I understand where you're coming from. And I also, as a Christian, feel bad for those people who are standing in the cold. However, the parents chose to put the children in that situation. I get that. And I agree with that 100%. Like you're choosing to put your child in that situation. You know that by making the decision to try to come to America, you know that that's going to come with risk. You know that's going to be uncertain. And ultimately, if you're doing it illegally, then you know it's going to come with a lot of hardship. So for you to, put your child in that situation, it obviously speaks to a level of irresponsibility. But also, as I said previously, these are human beings just like we're human beings. And I'm not trying to get too like progressive Christianity here, but I'm just simply saying like, I do think there's cases where people are doing things because they believe that that is the better option based on the circumstances and the conditions that they're facing. That's what I'm simply saying. Right? So you can't sit here and expect me to be completely cold and just completely heartless to these individuals. That's not in my nature. I know it's a lot of people, have that in their nature. That's just not in my nature. It's just not. You said, I often think about what it would be like for Americans if we found ourselves in a position where we must flee to seek asylum. Will international borders be shut on us? This will probably backfire. So here's the thing. Here's the conversation. As I said before, and this is the whole conversation that we had in terms of like Trump not putting his hand on the Bible and not, doing that whole song and dance, right? And what did I say? If his heart is not in it, if his heart is not truthful, if his yes is not truly a yes, then why does it matter if he puts his hand on the Bible in the first place? It matters the intention of your heart. God is an examiner of the heart. It goes much deeper than our actions. It goes much deeper than what we're convicted of or acquitted of. It's the heart. God's going to examine the heart. And for all of us, we're going to have to face that judgment. And we're going to have to go through that examination. So this is what I'm saying. Like, I understand that there's real world issues and there's real problems that are affecting America. And I understand that it puts a strain on people. And, you know, I understand all of it, and I agree with it. I don't think people should be crossing the country illegally. I don't. But what I'm trying to say to y'all is don't develop this callous in your heart for these individuals. That's what I'm saying. Because I think that's going to lead to a very dangerous place. I think it is. That's all I'm saying. Let's continue.
Over the years, saying that policies such as the Remain in Mexico program, they contend that it's inhumane to have migrants staying on the Mexican side of the border in some of those communities. Another one that is certainly going to bring out some challenges are these provisions when it comes to ending birthright citizenship. This is what the Attorney General of California had to say on that. Take a listen.
In the hours after President Trump was sworn into office, he issued an onslaught of disaster.
Okay. Well, my son is screaming. So yeah, he ended birthright citizenship, which that's going to be a very hard, that's going to be tough to actually get through, in my opinion. But there was another thing I wanted to look at. Hold on. There was something that I had that goes with it. That one. JFK bombshell. Is it this video? What is this video?
Okay, if you're a Christian in America, this is for you.
I don't know what this video is. I don't know if it applies to what we're talking about or not. I'd never watched it, but I saved it for some reason, but I didn't watch it. Let me see if this applies or not.
My whole thing is telling your story. This is my story. This is what's on my heart. And with everything happening in the world that it is, it's important to start sharing it now. This is the point in the Bible where Jesus would be flipping tables. You don't know if you believe me yet? All right. We are casting out the immigrant. We are deporting the foreigners. We are killing the poor with no health care that they can afford. We are allowing the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. We are allowing the government to take control of the narrative and take away platforms which encourage free speech, like TikTok. And the American government is using the name of Christianity, of God, to persuade us, the people, that they
This has 108,000 likes. Wow.
Follow the Bible. Tell me where Jesus does any of these things. Tell me where Jesus would be cool with us not feeding the children in schools with free lunches. Tell me where Jesus would be cool with not offering free health care to all people. Tell me where Jesus would be okay with our churches being the size that they are and our homeless population being the size that it is. He would be opening the doors to have homeless shelters in every American church. I promise you that. This is the Jesus that I know. This is the Jesus I want to believe in, but I have a hard time believing it because I've watched churches be greedy and not open their doors to people that are hurting and that need them. They only want to open their doors to people that have more money. Jesus is not political, and I don't want to be political, but I am going to say this, that he would spend a lot of time flipping tables in these churches that are preaching politics and endorsing guys like Donald Trump, because this is not what he stands for. This is not the Jesus that we find in the Bible. He is meek. He is kind. He is tenderhearted to the poor. He sits with the broken heart. He sits with people that
I think Jesus was political, actually.
Most churches would not be comfortable with in their lobby. That's Jesus. He's also the skin color and the nationality that a lot of us probably wouldn't know what to do with if he lived on our street. Two reasons. One, he is a foreigner. He is an immigrant. And he did not have a legal passport to go into the nations that he went into. Just like if he came to America, he would not have a passport probably with right documentation saying that he needs to be an American citizen. Would you be okay with that? No, you're clearly not, because you're voting to have these people deported out of our fucking nation.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was going to say all that.
What happened to Christianity and us being a Christian nation and opening our doors to people and helping them and wanting to be a nation that's free? No, we're saying it's only free to certain people. The rest of the people, get out. You don't belong here. I don't know how we can be a Christian nation and that be possible also. We might as well stop calling ourselves a Christian nation. We are a money nation. We are a nation governed by money, power, and politics, no longer by God and no longer by spirituality or the Bible. So stop.
You know, I was reading this book. It was actually by Vadi. You guys always roast me when I say his last name. Vadi Bakum? Is that how you say it? Okay. I say Bachman. You guys always roast me. It's like, it's Bachum. It's how you say it. Okay, I'm sorry. Gosh. I don't have a PhD in last names. But anyway, I was reading this book by him. And he was trying to make the case for America being a Christian nation. And he was saying that our founding fathers were Christian and America was built on Christian principles. And I was thinking about it and I was like, yeah, I get that. I could see that. And then I was talking to Elliot and he was kind of like he was essentially saying like, nah, we're not a Christian nation. And then I was kind of thinking about it like a little further. I'm like, yo, I don't like, because I was watching some different stuff from West Huff and, things of that nature. And I had some conversations on the panel, if you remember the panel podcast that we did. This whole Christian nation talk, I'm not for it. I don't agree with that. I think there was a lot of people who gave the appearance that they were Christian and, they were going through the motion, and they were doing the things that they thought, but I don't think they were actually Christian in their heart. I don't think Jesus was actually Lord and Savior of their life. I don't. But anyway, let's continue.
Preaching that because we're just not. And that's okay. I'm just saying that we can't be both. This is why I left the church. This is why I have a hard time believing in God, because I've seen Americans say that they're Christian and they're, Bible believing and we are American Republicans. No, fuck that. Fuck that. We're not like the Bible. We're not like the Christians that I see in the Bible. We're not. And so I don't know much. I don't. But all I know is, yes, I'm heated and I don't want to get heated, but this is a very important message. Jesus would be fucking flipping the tables in a lot of these homes and churches. And I hope that you hear that. I hope that you know that.
Okay. I think there's 2 minutes left, but I think the bulk of his message is pretty much done. What did you say? Hold on. Troy, you said, Nick, brother, with regards to the video clip from our sister in Christ, read Matthew 17, 24, 27. Even Jesus obeyed what the government said to do. Yeah, I'm not denying that Jesus obeyed what the government said to do. And, just like in Romans is what I said, which, clearly tells us from Paul telling us to submit to our authorities. And you look up who Paul look up who was in leadership when Paul was writing this, and look up what that dude had going on and what he was doing. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't friendly to people who had the beliefs of Jesus being Lord. Definitely wasn't. And he's still writing this and saying what he's saying. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. Hold on, let me go there. One second. Oh, 17, right? Matthew 17, 24, the temple tax. When they came to Capernaum, the collectors of the 2 drachman tax, it's probably not how you say that word, went up to Peter and said, does your teacher not pay the tax? He said, yes. And when he came into the house, Jesus spoke to him first, saying, what do you think, Simon? From whom do kings of the earth take toll or tax? From their sons or from others? And when he said, from others, Jesus said to him, then the sons are free. However, not to give offense to them, go to the sea and cast a hook and take the first fish that comes up. And when you open its mouth, you will find a shekel. Take that and give it to them for me and for yourself. So, like I said, I get it. I understand. Even the last video that we just watched with the dude talking crazy and talking about why he left Christianity and why he left the church and stuff like that. Okay, first things first. I get it. It's human nature, but don't leave the church because of the actions of people, right? Because he's saying that he knows God in that TikTok video that we just watched. He's talking about that he knows God and this is not the heart of God and God would be flipping tables. Okay, if you know God, right? How come you're using people as your excuse to walk away from the one that you say that you know? If you know him, then you know him for yourself and you have a relationship with him, regardless of what people are doing. You know him. You have a relationship with him, right? So, I'm questioning if you even know him at all, right? Okay, the next thing is, as I said before, I get the arguments that he's making. I understand it. I get it. And that's why I'm telling you and I'm talking to y'all today and I'm just encouraging you guys. I get it. I understand it. As you said, even Jesus obeyed what the government said to do. I understand it. I'm talking about in your heart. In your heart. Just make sure that there's no issue. Just make sure that there's no callous. Just make sure that there's no hatred in your heart in that process. Those of y'all who understand will understand. All right.